Picture this: a warm summer evening, the kind where the air hums with crickets and the sky glows pink over rolling green hills. At Rainbow Haven, an LGBTQ-friendly campground in upstate New York, laughter echoes around crackling campfires. This place is a sanctuary, a haven where everyone can be themselves, no questions asked. For Alex, a gentle soul in his early 50s, it's more than that. It's his one escape, his annual birthday ritual, the place where he feels truly free. But this year, as he clutches his phone, his heart pounding, that freedom is under threat. His abusive ex, Ryan, is about to invade his safe space. Worse, a court order means if Ryan shows up, Alex has to leave. But Alex isn't going down without a fight. What he does next is so clever, so perfectly executed, that it leaves Ryan completely outmaneuvered. This is a story of betrayal, resilience, and revenge so satisfying it'll leave you cheering. Stick around. You won't want to miss a single second. If you've ever been pushed to your breaking point by someone who thought they could control you, this one's for you. Have you ever dreamed of flipping the script, of serving up justice so sweet it feels like a victory for everyone who's ever been wronged? Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and settle in for a tale of karma that'll keep you hooked from start to finish. This is a story of Alex, a man who endured years of pain but found a way to take back his power in the most brilliant way possible. Let's dive in. Alex and Jamie have been friends for 47 years, ever since they were kids growing up on a quiet suburban street in the 70s. Back then, they were inseparable. Two boys trading comic books, whispering secrets under blanket forts, and promising to always have each other's backs. They'd spend long summer days exploring the woods behind their neighborhood, dreaming of adventures far beyond their small town. Jamie, with his quick wit and infectious laugh, was the dreamer, always spinning wild stories. Alex, quieter but fiercely loyal, was the one who made those dreams feel possible. Even as life took them in different directions, college, careers, relationships, that bond never broke. Now in their 50s, they're still as close as brothers, the kind of friends who can finish each other's sentences. But life hasn't been kind to Alex. For nearly a decade, he was trapped in a relationship with Ryan, a man who seemed perfect on the outside but was a nightmare behind closed doors. Ryan had a charm that could light up a room. Dark hair, a confident smile, and a way of making everyone feel special. But that charm was a mask. In private, he was controlling, manipulative, and cruel. He belittled Alex at every turn, tearing into his appearance, his passions, even his love for Rainbow Haven. "You're too old to be playing camper," Ryan would sneer, his voice sharp enough to cut. Alex would shrink under those words, his shoulders hunching, his hazel eyes dulling with shame. Over time, Ryan's control tightened. He'd monitor Alex's phone, dictate who he could see, and even control their finances, leaving Alex feeling like a prisoner in his own life. Jamie watched it all unfold, his heart breaking for his friend. He'd try to pull Alex out of the darkness, inviting him for coffee or a hike, but Ryan always found a way to sabotage it. "He's not good for you," Jamie would say, his voice soft but urgent. Alex would nod, but the doubt in his eyes was painful to see. "I don't know how to leave," he'd admit, his voice barely above a whisper. It was like watching a light slowly dim. Alex, once so full of life, was becoming a shadow of himself, his laughter replaced by a quiet resignation. The breaking point came one rainy evening 2 years ago. Alex showed up at Jamie's doorstep, soaked to bone, his face pale and his hands trembling. "I can't do it anymore," he said, his voice cracking. Jamie pulled him inside, wrapping him in a blanket, and listened as Alex poured out years of pain. Stories of Ryan's outbursts, his threats, the way he made Alex feel worthless. That night, with Jamie's support, Alex made a decision. He was done. He moved out, cut contact, and secured a court order that barred Ryan from coming near him. It was a hard-won victory, but the scars ran deep. Even now, Alex's hands shake when he talks about Ryan, and his voice carries the weight of someone who's fought to reclaim their life. Rainbow Haven became his refuge. Tucked away in the hills, the campground was a slice of paradise, acres of green fields, shaded by towering pines, with a sparkling lake at its heart. Every August, Alex would pack his old pickup truck and drive up for his birthday weekend. joining a tight-knit community of campers who welcomed him like family. There was Linda, the campground manager, a warm woman with a quick laugh who always saved Alex his favorite site by the lake. There was Sarah, a vibrant trans woman who became a close friend, always ready with a joke or a hug. And there were countless others, all drawn to Rainbow Haven for its promise of acceptance. Around the campfire, under a blanket of stars, Alex could finally breathe. He'd sit with a beer in hand, the crackle of the fire mixing with the hum of conversation, and feel like himself again. But Ryan wasn't done. Abusive people, as they often do, cling to control even after the relationship ends. This year, as Alex planned his birthday trip, he made a courtesy call to Ryan, letting him know he'd be at Rainbow Haven. It was a practical move. Alex wanted to avoid any chance of running into him, given the court order. But Ryan's response was like a punch to the gut. "I don't care about your plans," he snapped over the phone, his voice dripping with venom. "I'm going that weekend. Deal with it." Alex's stomach twisted. He could picture Ryan's smug grin, the way his dark eyes glinted when he knew he'd won. The court order was clear. If Ryan was at the campground, Alex would have to leave to avoid violating it. The thought of losing his birthday, his 1 weekend apiece, was unbearable. For days, Alex was a wreck. He barely slept, his mind racing with memories of Ryan's cruelty. He'd pace his small apartment, the hardwood floor creaking under his steps, muttering to himself, "Why can't he just leave me alone?" His hands would clench into fists, then release, as if trying to let go of the anger inside. Jamie, who was there when the call came, saw the color drain from Alex's face. It was like Ryan was stealing his joy all over again, Jamie later said, his voice thick with frustration. He tried to help, suggesting other campgrounds, but Alex shook his head. "Rainbow Haven is mine," he said, his voice trembling but firm. "He doesn't get to take that from me." The weight of it all was crushing. Alex would sit on his couch, staring at a photo from last year's birthday, a snapshot of him laughing by the campfire, surrounded by friends. His chest ached with the memory of that joy, now tainted by Ryan's threat. He'd close his eyes, trying to block out the fear, but it was no use. Flashbacks would creep in, moments from the worst days with Ryan. One memory stood out, a cold winter night when Ryan had screamed at him for hours, calling him weak, useless, a failure. Alex had stood there, his heart pounding, his throat tight, feeling like the walls were closing in. "You'll never be free of me," Ryan had said, his voice low and menacing. Those words echoed now, fueling Alex's anger but also his fear. Have you ever felt trapped like that? Like someone's control over you was a chain you couldn't break? If you have, you know the kind of rage that builds inside, the kind that makes your hands shake and your chest burn. That's where Alex was, caught between fear and fury, desperate to protect the one place that made him feel whole. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow through Alex's living room window, something shifted. He sat on his worn leather couch, the photo from Rainbow Haven in his hands. His jaw tightened and his hazel eyes narrowed. "Enough is enough," he whispered to himself. For the first time in years, a spark of defiance ignited in his chest. Ryan had taken so much, his confidence, his peace, his sense of self. But he wouldn't take this. Alex's mind raced, his thoughts a whirlwind of frustration and resolve. He wasn't just going to protect his birthday. He was going to make sure Ryan lost. Jamie, sensing the change, leaned forward in his chair. "What are you thinking, Alex?" he asked, his voice cautious but curious. Alex's eyes gleamed with a mix of fear and determination. "I'm going to make sure he can't ruin this," he said. "Not this time." Jamie grinned, a slow, proud smile spreading across his face. He knew that look. It was the Alex he'd known as a kid, the one who never backed down from a challenge, no matter how big. The next morning, Alex woke with a clarity he hadn't felt in years. He brewed a pot of coffee, the rich aroma filling his small kitchen, and sat at his dining table with his laptop. His fingers trembled slightly as he logged into the Rainbow Haven website. The campground allowed booking for up to a month at a time, a detail he'd never paid much attention to before. Now, it was the key to everything. A slow smile spread across his face as the plan took shape. He called Linda, the campground manager, his voice steady despite the knot in his stomach. "I'd like to book a site for the entire month of August," he said, each word deliberate. Linda's laugh came through the phone, warm and surprised. "The whole month, Alex? That's a new one." Alex chuckled, but inside his pulse raced. This was it. Step one. Next, he dialed the local police department. His hands were clammy as he explained the situation to the officer on duty. "I have a restraining order against my ex, Ryan," he said, his voice firm. "I'll be staying at Rainbow Haven Campground for the month of August, so that's one of my addresses. He's not allowed to be there." The officer took down the details, assuring Alex they'd enforce the order if Ryan showed up. As he hung up, a wave of exhilaration washed over him. He'd done it by booking the entire month. He'd ensured Ryan couldn't set foot on the campground without violating the court order. The police would be watching. Ryan's plan was dead, but there was a moment of doubt. What if Ryan found a way around it? Alex's mind flashed to a conversation he'd overheard at the campground last year, Ryan bragging to a friend about how he always got what he wanted. The memory made Alex's stomach churn. He couldn't let his guard down yet. He called Linda again, asking her to keep his booking confidential and to tell anyone who asked that the campground was fully booked for August. Linda, who had heard bits of Alex's story over the years, didn't hesitate. "You got it, Han," she said, her voice firm. "No one's messing with your birthday." The days leading up to August were a mix of nerves and anticipation. Alex would catch himself smiling at random moments, imagining Ryan's reaction when he realized he'd been outplayed. But the fear lingered. What if Ryan showed up anyway? What if he tried to charm his way in, like he always did? Alex pushed those thoughts aside, focusing on the plan. He packed his truck with camping gear, his hands steady now, his heart lighter. Jamie, who'd been by his side through it all, clapped him on the shoulder. "You're taking your life back, man," he said. Alex nodded, a quiet determination settling over him. "Yeah," he said, "I am." The first weekend of August arrived, and Alex drove to Rainbow Haven with Jamie in the passenger seat. The campground was as beautiful as ever, green fields stretching out under a bright blue sky, the air thick with the scent of pine and campfire smoke. Laughter and music drifted from nearby sites, and for the first time in months, Alex felt his shoulders relax. He set up his tent at his favorite spot by the lake, the water glinting in the sunlight. Sarah, the trans woman who became a close friend, greeted him with a hug. "You look different," she said, her eyes narrowing playfully. "Like you're up to something." Alex just grinned, not ready to spill the details yet. But the real test came a few days later. Jamie got a call from a mutual friend, Tom, who'd heard through the grapevine that Ryan had tried to book a site for Alex's birthday weekend. Linda, true to her word, had told him the campground was fully booked for the month. Ryan had pushed, his voice growing sharp, demanding to know who'd booked it. Linda stayed firm, citing privacy policies, and Ryan's temper flared. He was pacing around his apartment, ranting about how Alex couldn't do this to him. Tom said, barely containing his laughter. He kept saying he'd find a way to show up anyway. Alex's heart pounded as he listened to the story, a mix of relief and glee washing over him. He could picture Ryan's face, red with anger, his fists clenched, his carefully laid plan unraveling. For years, Ryan had made Alex feel powerless, like his happiness was something Ryan could snatch away at any moment. Now, the tables had turned. Alex had outsmarted him, using the very rules Ryan thought he could manipulate. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. That wasn't the end of it. A few days later, another twist came. Ryan, desperate to regain control, called the campground again, this time trying a different tactic. He claimed he'd booked a site months ago and demanded to know why it wasn't available. Linda, calm as ever, checked the records and told him there was no such booking. Ryan's voice cracked with frustration, and he hung up, defeated. Word spread among the campers, who'd long known about Ryan's cruelty. By the time Alex's birthday weekend arrived, the entire campground was buzzing with the story. Sarah pulled Alex aside, her eyes sparkling. "You're a legend," she said, squeezing his arm. "You showed him." The birthday weekend was everything Alex had hoped for. The campfire crackled under a starry sky. the air filled with the scent of roasting marshmallows and the sound of laughter. Alex sat with Jamie, Sarah, and a dozen other friends, his heart full. For the first time in years, he felt unburdened, like the weight of Ryan's control had finally lifted. He sipped a cold beer, the bottle soothing against his palm, and let out a long, slow breath. The flames danced in front of him, their warmth a reminder of the life he'd fought to reclaim. Jamie nudged his shoulder. "You did good, man," he said, his voice thick with pride. Alex smiled, his eyes glistening in the firelight. "Yeah," he said softly, "I did." The campground felt like home again, but more than that, it felt like a victory. Ryan's absence was a presence in itself, a silent testament to Alex's strength. Have you ever had a moment like that? A moment where you took back something someone tried to steal from you? It's a feeling like no other, isn't it? As the summer went on, Alex heard bits and pieces about Ryan's reaction. Friends reported that he was furious, ran into anyone who'd listened about how Alex had screwed him over. But the more he ranted, the more he revealed his own defeat. He'd tried to control Alex one last time, and he'd failed. For Alex, it was closure. He didn't need to see Ryan's face to know he'd won. The peace of Rainbow Haven, the laughter of his friends, the weightlessness in his chest. That was enough. This story isn't just about a campground or a birthday. It's about what happens when you refuse to let someone else define your worth. Alex spent years feeling small, but in one brilliant move, he took back his power. He didn't need to yell or fight. He used his wits, his courage, and a system that was finally on his side. It's a reminder that justice doesn't always come with a bang. Sometimes it's quiet, calculated, and oh so satisfying. Have you ever turned the tables on someone who wronged you? Maybe it was a small act like Alex's or something bigger. Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. And let's be honest, there's nothing quite like the feeling of karma doing's work. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell us in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? Maybe it's a story like Alex's, or maybe it's something completely different. Either way, we want to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more stories that'll keep you glued to your screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.